30 minutes. 30 minutes. Yeah, that is not enough, even for me as the moderator as well. Yeah. So 30 minutes for your session that I do believe that you already arranged your materials as well as your speech, uh, and you will optimize the 30 minutes of your slot. So I would like to give some introduction about our program today. All young people need books, and they can read and enjoy it. In addition to identifying excellent picture books and novels with plots and feature characters with varied abilities, we believe it is important for children and teens to be able to read on their own whenever possible. By highlighting accessible books, we increase the opportunities for people of all abilities to read independently. Access is enhanced through a range of formats such as Braille, picture communication symbols, sign language, easy to read language, tactile and textured illustration, dyslexia-friendly font, and other design features. The today's event is exhibition and seminar on books for young people with disabilities. Books that are exhibited here since Monday until today is the EB Outstanding Books for Young People with Disability from all the way from Toronto Public Library, which is located in Canada. So we have the opportunity to have that collection and to be exhibited here without any charge from MBBY. Thank you very much, Dato, for the space as well as the opportunity. And I do believe all our students has made use and get the opportunity. I've been told that there is one class who did a book review for all of the collection. The books features a large international selection of books for and about young people with disability. The books are chosen by the EB National Section, as well as independent expert and publisher. And the books in over 40 languages, special formats such as Bliss Symbolics, PCS, Braille, Sign Language, Tactile, and Textile books. Fiction books that portray children and teens with disability as characters in story and novels. Books for adults with developmental delays, language disabilities, or reading difficulties. And we are also grateful today having our experts in this area to share with us about this book. And for the first speaker, I would like to introduce him to all of us today. As Malay said, tak kenal maka tak cinta. Okay? For those who are not understand, you can ask Miss Jamie at the back. Okay? Okay, Dato' Ahmad Reza Ahmad Khairuddin. Of course, he is married. 4, yeah? Children. 4 children. Prof. Abdi, sorry, they don't put comma in my... Supposed to be they put comma. Okay. Dato' Ahmad Reza started his career in a public accounting firm and subsequently in banking after completing his study in 1986. While pursuing his career, he continued his studies and obtained his Bachelor of Business in Business Administration from Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology in 1993, and subsequently his Masters of Business Administration from Ohio University, United States of America in 1996. Currently, he is the president of the Malaysia Board on Books for Young People, MBBY, and former president for International Board on Books for Young People, a non-profit organization with 80 member countries from all over the world and based in Basel, Switzerland. He has been president for EB from the year of 2010 until 2014 and has been active in all activities organized by EB after his tenure as president. MBBY and EB has been known to promote peace as they aim to protect and uphold the right of child according to the United Nations Convention on the Right of the Child. In his capacity as president and executive committee member, he has visited many countries to promote peace through children literature works and activities. He also visited countries and areas affected by natural disasters and civil unrest to assist in remedial and bibliotherapy for children affected. And the title of his presentation today is Promoting Books for Children with Disability EB Experience. Without further ado, please welcome yang berbahagia Datuk Ahmad Reza Ahmad Khairuddin.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning to all. Thank you, Saudara Azli, for that long introduction. He has probably told you the full story of my life. Alhamdulillah, with due respect, Professor Dr. Abdi, Deputy Vice Chancellor of the University, Madam Nurpisa, Registrar, Dr. Tengku Shahrum, Dean of School of Education and Human Sciences, Puan Shohada, Acting Chief Librarian, my colleagues, esteemed speakers, members of the academia, and students all. Again, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and very good morning. I am indeed very honored and very humbled to be here today in this beautiful campus. It was difficult to get in, your security is very tight. So when we managed to sneak in this morning, I'm overjoyed. Like a kid who found a new toy. And Dr. Tengku Shahrum gave a very inspiring speech, and I fully agree with him. As a result of that, I've lost or forgotten half of my script for this morning. But thank God I only have 30 minutes. And we'll do our best to do what is supposed to be done. Incidentally, Dr. Tengku Shahrum, when I saw him, instantly I recognized his lanyard. And we come from the same school, and he's my senior. So if I have to behave myself today, you will understand why. Of course, it wasn't my time when he was bullying people. So we're quite far apart, but the lanyard speaks volume. So, there's a decorum there. Okay, Alhamdulillah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give an overview of what IBBY does from the global perspective before my esteemed colleagues take over and talk about the specialty on books for children with disabilities. Incidentally, IBBY does a lot more, and it's only one of our key focus where we have children for books for children with disabilities. Generally, IBBY was founded way back in 1953, after the Second World War. At that time, our founder, Yala Lapman, who was working with the victims of the war in Germany, she saw that the children of the war, these could be, orphans and so on, they needed more than just shelter, food, clothes and so on. So they needed books, they needed stories, they needed something to lift them out of their sadness or gloom or their trauma, witnessing the effects of war. This is something that is rarely spoken about, especially even today, especially when it comes to children affected by the impact of war or crisis or trauma. A recent example in Malaysia, for example, is the recent landslide in Batang Kali. Yeah? So you saw the number of victims, amongst them are children. Yes, we pray for those who have departed. But then, The children who were directly impacted would be their relatives or their siblings of those who have departed, or even the children or some of the adults who perish in that incident. This is trauma. There are ways to address these children's needs, and books and stories is very well one of the key things. Unfortunately, perhaps we do not have such books that are produced locally with direct content about Malaysia and what we have here. We have a lot of books that are imported that addresses these issues, and sometimes the content and the context of such books that are brought from abroad are not aligned or in sync with our local realities. For example, you get a book on trauma management, but with the background of the Swiss Alps in the illustration. It does not relate to the kids in Malaysia who saw vivid pictures of the landslide aftermath at Batangkali from the news, right? So this is where we are, and BBY and IBBY plays our role. When we talk about IBBY's role, we believe that books and children have a very close relationship. Books and stories can promote peace and tolerance and understanding amongst children and among adults. We'll hold the slide for a moment. Books can be that link between children and children, adults and adults, adults and children. And adults means everyone. Is not only parents, is not only teachers, it's also caregivers, it's also family, grandparents, and so on. The adult's role in promoting an environment for reading is very important. But what do we read, and what do we want our children to read? In the context of Malaysia, we need books that are related, or the books that our children can relate to. For example, The Beauty of Alostar and Kedah. The scenery of the surrounding landscape. That illustration or that picture with a story in it would relate better to a child living in Kedah and Malaysia compared to a storybook that you pay hundreds of dollars that you buy on Amazon.com with the illustration depicting the Swiss Alps or the Eiffel Tower or the London Bridge, right? So this is where we come in when it comes to content and context. So as a result of that, EB promotes such things where we encourage reading, we encourage writing, we encourage illustrating books for children on a global scale, where children can derive joy, understanding, appreciation. Children who read the books, or when the books are read to them, can embark on a journey of exploration, understanding, appreciation of what the story is all about, and derive values out of it, so that it takes them onto the next level where it helps them overcome crisis within their minds, or help them understand a point better, or help them appreciate certain matters in a more constructive way. Therefore, the books that we have will have to be books that resonates on the metaphor of a mirror and a window. When you say mirror, that means the stories that the children read will be reflective of themselves. They see themselves in the story. They see their background. They see their homes. They see their face. They see their dressing, their hijab, and all the stuff, which they understand, yes, this is me. If they read a book and they do not see themselves in that, then they probably think, who am I? Am I different? Am I a monster? I don't understand this story, But they may read it for joy when they're able to read. But when we bring the book and the story into them with a purpose, then we want them to relate. Similarly, on the other hand, when we use the metaphor of window, that same book or that same story can be a window to someone else into the realms or the realities of the world here, Likewise, it works vice versa. Our child may read a book that comes from another country, and that becomes a window to them. But we do not want an imbalance where we only have books that resembles windows to our children, but does not have the mirror effect. The point I'm getting at is that we need more books about us, about our life, our story, our children, for the world. We have enough from the windows. So let our windows be used by other people. In a nutshell, that's where I'm getting at. And these are the things that we try to do through IBBY. And we have a lot of activities, and I'll run through with some of them with you through these few slides, and then I'll share with you how AB Malaysia or Malaysia MBBY is engaged in that. Okay, the first slide is about EB's mission, where we promote international understanding using children's books. We want the children everywhere in the world to have access to good quality books with high literary and artistic standards. That means it must be of quality writing. Illustrations must be of good quality as well. It's not just clip art, if you don't mind me saying. It's proper illustration. And then we encourage the publication and distribution of quality books, especially in developing countries. We provide support and training for those involved with children and children's literature. We stimulate research and scholarly works in the field of children's literature. For example, the exhibition that you have in the library today, it is stored, curated, and managed by the Public Library in Toronto, specially designed, and they have a very nice collection, and it's open for anyone from all over the world to visit for research purposes. So if anyone is interested to visit Toronto Public Library to look at more details about this, you may contact us and we can make the arrangements for the introductions and so on. It'd be great. And we protect and uphold the rights of the child according to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. This is a convention that has been signed by most of the countries in the world, and Malaysia is one of the signatories. The highlight is that the US is not a signatory, although they have agreed, but they have not signed. So much for what's being put up in the news. Yeah? But nevertheless, we are friendly. US EB is one of the most active EB sections of the world. They're very generous, they're very helpful, they've been doing a great job. So sometimes what the politicians say does not reflect what is on the ground among the people. Yeah. So that's where we are in terms of mission. Can I have the next slide, please? And this is where we are, EB. Those in yellow, marked yellow, is where EB is having a national section. So from this brief picture, you can see that we're almost all over the world. And we have certain places like in Taiwan, in Portugal, and in Morocco, where we have individual members, where the country does not have a national section, which is still in the process. But those in yellow are all the countries where we have national sections. Today we have 80 countries, and most of them are active. And I had the honor of being president for 4 years, in 2010 to 2014. Before that, I was vice president for 2 years, before the executive committee member. And it's been a very, very rewarding and enriching career there because I learned a lot. I learned so much about the great works being done by so many people all over the world, above race, religion, and color. They're all passionate about the value of the EB mission, especially to children. I've seen exemplary actions by all walks of society, from academia, young able-bodied people, up to grandparents and grandmothers and grandfathers who run reading programs and bibliotherapy programs for displaced children in certain countries like Latin America, Colombia, and so on, just to protect the children from going on the streets and be susceptible to other threats. We have in Afghanistan volunteers who maintain a safe house where children will not be playing on the field or out in the open in case the shells or the bombs come. And they'll be staying in these houses, in the daytime, like a school where they'll be given access to books to read. They'll be given reading classes and all those sort of things, including meals, which cost them $1 US to provide them a snack, lunch, and tea, and so that when they go home, they are not hungry, just for $1 US. And we've been there. IBBY has been supporting this to the best ability we can, although in the recent years it has been very, very, very difficult to send funds across to some of these countries, especially Afghanistan, Iran, for example. And it has been heartbreaking, but we've always managed to find a way eventually. Better late than never. Okay, next. Some of the main activities that EB has, we have the Nobel Prize for Children Literature in the EB Hans Christian Andersen Award. This is the most prestigious award for children writings and illustration, and it's sponsored by the Nami Island Incorporated. If those of you who are romantics and know Nami Island in Korea, Winter Sonata, I see the lady smiling, so that's the sponsor for Hans Christian Andersen Award. It's given every 2 years, and the latest winner is Susie Lee from Korea and Marie Ode from France. Susie is from the illustration category, Marie Ode is from the writing category. And the best news was that they were both in Malaysia recently in September during our Congress. Unfortunately, we didn't get to know you earlier. Otherwise we'd love to have you at Putrajaya Congress. Yeah, we can talk about that later. Next, we have the EB Asahi Reading Promotion Award. This has been going on since 2005, sponsored by Asahi Shimbun of Japan, where reading promotion projects. We have various activities to promote reading among children, especially those in marginalized or displaced children. And these projects are carried out by the EB national sections, and they are documented with pre-test, post-test, and all those measurement materials, and they are documented, and they are allowed to vie for this award. And EB will have a jury assembled every 2 years to evaluate and pick a winner. And the winner walks home with a US $10,000 prize, especially sponsored by Asahi Shimbun. And that leads to other support coming from, within their country and so on. So next, please. EB iRead Outstanding Award. This is meant for individuals. iRead Reading Promoter. So these are individuals who play a significant role in promoting reading amongst children or people in their country. For example, a person who's advocating reading in China, for example, who's done a great job on his own, making plans, traveling through the diverse countryside, overcoming challenges and so on, just to get books across, to encourage reading, to bring about knowledge of how to use books, manage books and so on. These are people who will be rewarded through this award. It's sponsored by the iRead Foundation based in Shenzhen, and this also gives out a very, very lucrative prize. And the latest winners, Jane Kurtz and Zore Ghani, and you have more information about them in the EB website. Next, please. EB Honor List. Every 2 years, we have the EB Honor List. These are the best books for the year, which are evaluated and chosen by the national sections to be submitted to EB headquarters, and at the headquarters they are reviewed again, and if they meet all criteria, then they are listed as the EB Honor List, meaning these are probably the best books from each country. And we publish a catalog. There's also a online version, and the latest list is the 2022 EB Honor List that was announced and was also exhibited. We have the full collection of the books back in our office, which eventually the university can also have a look at it or borrow. And there are 3 categories: writing, illustrating, and translation. So we have books, and Malaysia has always been featured as one of the countries that submit the EB honor list. So next, and then we celebrate International Children's Book Day, which is in April every year, which is celebrated in conjunction with the birthday of Hans Christian Andersen. Although he lived in the 1800s, but he's still revered. His books are still very, very relevant, followed and enjoyed by children all over the world until today. Yeah, for those of you who enjoyed the movie Frozen, okay, that originated from a Hans Christian Andersen storybook or picture book called The Ice Princess. So whatever Disney has today, there is a history to it. Yeah, okay. Yeah, don't get worried that you don't know. I didn't know either until I watched it. So we do read children books. We do go to Disney shows and so on because we are involved in this. Although, as Saudara Azli mentioned, my background is actually investment and finance. Dr. Sharom asked, there's a big difference, and I said, you don't want to hear the full story. We'll be here till tomorrow. Okay, right? International Children's Book Day. Next, we have the EB selection of outstanding books for young people with disabilities. This is also a curated catalogue produced every 2 years. What you have here on exhibition is the 2021 collection with the latest catalogue. Next year, we're going to have the 2023 catalogue and books. I'm hoping that we'll be able to slot in our application to have those books on loan to Malaysia again. The books that you have here will only be with us till end of January. Then we have to send it. There's a long queue. A lot of people wanting the books. On Malaysia EB side, we're an NGO. We don't have money. Nobody gives us money. We're all, finding our own ways to find it. But Alhamdulillah, we have managed to purchase a number of collections in the past years. Every year without fail, or every 2 years without fail, we buy the honor list books, and that costs us something like 13 to 15,000 ringgit. And then we've recently bought a set of the silent books, which cost us probably $1,000 over US dollars, because we had a little bit of cash surplus during the Congress, and I dipped my hand into the kitty and just threw it out. And we're doing the accounting now. That's not good practice. Don't follow us, but of course I have the consensus of my committee to do that. Sometimes we have to, deviate a bit just to seize the opportunity, but that's business. Okay, next. And this is the silent books that I was talking about. I'm very proud of this project because it was approved during my tenure as president. We have this Lampedusa island off the Italian coast. That is the transit island where refugees who are escaping from North Africa and some of the countries in conflict up there, and they try to flee their countries, maybe due for various reasons, and across the Mediterranean Sea. The halfway point is Lampedusa Island. It's an island of rock, nothing there. And Italy was a country that accepted refugees, and they allowed these people to land on the island and seek refuge. They left there, and Italy saw them, and they saw that they had nothing there, and children were just walking around doing nothing, and they were waiting to be resettled or repatriated somewhere else. They came up with the idea of providing these children with books or stories so that they'll be occupied. And one of the intention of the stories is to enable these children to assimilate or get used to the new culture if they are going to stay in Italy. Pictures depicting, how the countryside looks like, or how the cities look like, and what the people do, and so on. But they acknowledge that there's a language barrier because not everyone, or almost everyone, does not speak Italian. So the concept of silent books came about. These are actually wordless books, wordless picture books with beautiful illustrations. And they came up with the idea that we endorsed at the General Assembly in London, where they will solicit contributions from publishers and authors or illustrators, great stories that will help children resettle or learn more about another place. and they had a big response to this call. Then they assembled a panel of excellent jury members who selected the books, and these are called the collection of silent books. And this project has been going on since then, 2008 until 2012 until today. And we're happy to inform that on the Lampedusa Island now we have some structures, a library in fact, where children can sit in and read. And every summer there'll be volunteers who are going there to do storytelling sessions, reading sessions, and the children actually have benefited immensely because they are now more familiar with the environment that they may be going to before resettlement. And we're very proud of this, and the books are available, and now a lot more people believe in the power of silent books. So Malaysia, for example, we are multicultural, multilingual society because of our various races, and we have a picture book, a wordless picture book, then it can be told in various languages or dialects that we have. So without having the issue of having books in Chinese, in Malay, in Tamil, and so on. And I think we're a fine example of where it could start. So MBBY is encouraging this, and we hope to get traction. And there's the opportunity, Doctor, if you you mentioned just now, that's the opportunity. Wordless, picture books, but it tells a story. But illustrating these books will require certain skill. It's not a piece of art. It's an illustration, and perhaps my colleague can talk about it. So that's where we are. Then we have some support, Ibi Yamada Fund, contribution from a philanthropist from Japan who runs a bee farm, a huge bee farm. And he puts money and he gives grants to countries that want to run programs that workshops in nature to develop writers, illustrators, or reading programs and so on. Malaysia has been a recipient of this grant for a few years. In fact, we have completed 2 projects, and we're going to start another project soon with the Yamada grant. Yeah. The Children in Crisis Fund is an ongoing crisis fund. Whenever we have situations of crisis, the EB community will gather and we will find ways to help these children affected by the crisis. For example, the children of Ukraine now, who are suffering from the effects of war, they have been receiving books for bibliotherapy programs, especially in their language, and it's supported by the various countries who are nearby. Children in Crisis Fund, we also give money to Palestine, to Afghanistan, to Iran, to many countries or many areas of disaster. In fact, I wish we could start a Children in Crisis Fund for the Batangkali incident. But I must express here my personal views that it's very, very hard to get Malaysians to understand this angle of fundraising and support. We're happy with the food, medicine, KFC, Agong coming, Permaisuri Agong, Minister, Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister, wife, husband, children, and all the publicity. But beyond that, we're not looking at it, but we'll find a way, inshallah. Yeah. Okay, exciting things going forward in 30th August to 1st September 2024, the 39th EB Congress after Malaysia. The team is Join the Revolution, giving every child good books. So we are early enough to encourage you to plan, to join. You can, when the call for papers come, you can actually submit if you're interested in presenting papers, or you can go as a participant and enjoy the pasta and so on. And then we have the World Congress next in 2026. EB works very far ahead, So we are ready with the 2026 Congress as well. They'll be in Ottawa. That's a bit too far to imagine what's going to happen, but they have the team listening to each other's voice. Canada is a very interesting country, a very diverse country, and lots of migrants. Yeah, and the US BBY Regional Congress is there. So how does? Is there any more slides? Yeah, I guess it was the end. The thing is, how does MBBY Malaysia works around this? Well, basically we are Malaysia, but we believe in this. we are a member country of EB International, and we wholeheartedly embrace what they are doing, in addition to what we are doing within the context of our country and our society. So we have lots of activities. Um, I know my time is up, Adi. 5 minutes. He's very strict. So in 5 minutes, I'm going to sum this up. I'm glad also. The thing is, we have our workshops, we have our seminars, our conferences. We are happy to go anywhere in the country to help budding members or students or academia who wants to know more about what we do and how we do things. We like to encourage as many people as possible to understand all these things, and as I said, this is probably the second time where I have a seminar or conference in a library in a university. My experience many years ago was in the US EB Regional Conference, where we had it in the university in, oh my God, I forgot the name, Tucson, was it? And it was very nice, and this is how practical a library should be. You can convert it into a seminar room, at the same time enjoy the beauty and the functionality of a library. Ongoing, we hope to expand our wings to have more activities beyond Kuala Lumpur, because most of our committee members are in Kuala Lumpur, and that's where we can't move. But if there's room to be based, to have to start a northern chapter here in Kedah, if there's opportunity, we'll be very happy to collaborate and work. And then we also want to hear from members about your needs to whether to understand more, or your plans and so on, touching on the concept of the university, which is social thing. I was also involved previously in social entrepreneurship programs through Student in Free Enterprise. I'm not sure whether you've heard of that. Now it's called Enactus. I was the chairman of SAIF Malaysia, and that's a social entrepreneurship program out of US, and they also have the World Cup, and Malaysia was always in the finals, and that's where they work with marginalized or local communities, where they provide entrepreneurship skills and knowledge, and see whether it's sustainable and complying with all the other criteria and so on. So there are a lot of things that we can do, and I like to encourage students, lecturers and so on to go beyond the classroom, and people like us, we are available. We are a small NGO run by volunteers, and sometimes it's difficult to reach out to everywhere, but if you reach out to us, we are ready to respond, inshallah. Yeah. So with that, on a closing note, as I said, I'm very honored to be here, and I'm very grateful to the university for inviting us, and it's also a privilege to see what your founder, Tan Sri Syed Mokhtar, has done. This is very humbling indeed, and I hope all these efforts will be blessed, inshallah. Yeah. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Yang Berbahagia Datuk Ahmad Reza Ahmad Khairuddin, for the introduction of EB. And for your information, our student is come from the various countries in the world. And if you look at to the slide just now, the map, they have our student that come from that country doesn't have the EB national section yet, and we are hoping that our student later can initiate the EB section for their own country. Okay, do we have Moses here? Who is Moses? Moses, are you here? Moses, start the EB library. Okay, Moses and Lee together. Okay, so thank you very much, Dato', for the opportunity, and I'm hoping that our students have some, idea or maybe a project to be done with the MBBY later. Okay, and we're going to move to the second speaker. Can I have the laptop here? So the second speaker is my Sifu. Okay. Way back in 2016, I was being selected to to be the recipient of University of Selangor that time. So Chancellor Award is the highest recognition and award for university. So before being selected, we have many interviews to be to be done, and the last interview is chaired by him. Yes. So another one of the panel is my professor, Arwah Professor Dr. Shahrudin. Did you know him? He asked me. I said, no, I don't know him, which is Prof. Siden. His name is Mat Siden Ahmad Ishak. Then suddenly pop up in my mind, oh, I have heard this name, but I forgot where. So actually I, found his name in my reference book when I'm doing my diploma, which is this book, Children's Literature. Oh, he is a professor of communication, but writing children's literature reference book. And we have been used this book for our main reference book for children's literature course way back in 2010 and 2011. So until then, now, okay, there is two persons that I know their book first, and then I met them. One is Professor Dr. Mat Siden, and then another one is Professor Dr. Hashimah Hashim. Okay? Also, she wrote a book for my diploma back then in 2010, 2011. So Professor Dr. Mat Siden Ahmad Ishak is the Professor of Communication. So we have media and communication here. From the Department of Communication, Faculty of Communication, Visual Art and Computing, University of Selangor. He is also the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic Research and Industrial Engagement, University of Selangor. He received his PhD in Publishing Studies from University of Stirling, Scotland, way back in 1993. Masters of Science in Journalism from Ohio University in 1985, and Bachelor of Art, Creative and Descriptive Writing from University of Malaya in the year of 1982. He is also actively involved in literacy development projects for marginalized communities such as refugees, and getting involved in humanitarian projects in Rohingya, Myanmar, Kashmir, and Pakistan. He was also involved as the jury of award for children's book, such as Jury Panel for Children's Book Award, Perbadanan Kota Buku Malaysia, Islamic Media Award from Jabatan Kemajuan Islam Malaysia, Malaysia Book Award by Malaysia Majlis Buku Kebangsaan Malaysia, and Hadiah Sastra or Malaysia Literature Award by Dewan Bahasa and Pustaka. Now, he is the Vice President, share with us about content development of children with disability. So without further ado, please give a big applause to Yang Berbahagia Professor Dr. Mat Siden bin Ahmad Ishak.
Thank you, Mr. Azli. Okay, so you can stop me anytime, yeah, when the time is up. But I have to be dependent on the slide, yeah, so that I will not be going beyond the time. Respectable Madam Nur Pisah, yeah, who is the registrar for Al-Bukhari International University, and Tengku Shahrom. I call him Dr. T. Yeah? When we was in University Selangor, he is very popular, Dr. T. Yeah? Madam Shuhada, I believe you are here, Madam Shuhada. My colleague, speakers, and ladies and gentlemen. Now, before I begin my presentation, I would like to do a little survey here, so that I know who you are, because I want to make my presentation relevant to you. How many of you here are lecturers? Can you just show your hand? Okay, good. How many of you are students? Majority of you are students. Good. How many of you are teachers? School teachers? No? Okay, how many of you are librarians? Okay, there are few librarians here. How many of you are counselors? No? No counselor. How, okay, yes, you are counselor. How many of you are caregivers? Okay, no caregivers here. How many of you are parents? Yeah, I believe many of you are parents. All right. Okay, but I believe all of you are potential authors. Okay, so because most of the focus here will be on developing content for disabled children. Okay, now before we begin again, I want to do a little activity, a pre-reading activity. Okay, pre-reading activity is actually very important for any reading activities. All right, because this is like a preview for teachers, especially to give some guidelines and to actually strengthen the reading process itself, and also to review, yeah, to prepare, mentally prepare, so whatever is going to be done after that. Okay, now look at this picture. This is a book, right? You can see from the title there, Elephant and Giraffe. All right? So I'm going to give you these questions, but because normally when I do pre-reading activities in a big group like this, but also children in general. All right, and this book used very bright colors, real pictures, right? Okay, this is from research. Okay, now let's quickly move on to the types of book for disabled children. Mr. Adli earlier has mentioned several categories, and that categories was actually can be found in EB book catalog, right? So one of the category is picture books with sign language illustration. Yeah, this is impossible for us to do unless we employ people who are skillful, who knows sign language, or unless you yourself are expert in sign language. But this is one of the formats, and of course this include Braille, sign language, and non-verbal communication system, and sign language illustration. And Mr. Azli also mentioned bliss symbols. And bliss symbols actually is like a Braille, but this is no longer gaining popularity. But it is still used in certain countries like Bangladesh or some African countries. Okay, now, this is not a category, but this is a strategy for autistic children, right? If you look at the collection downstairs, you will realize that some of the books use repetitive strategy, right? And this book that you do while the pre-reading exercise is using a strategy of repetition. Look at the title, Brown Bear, What Do You See? Right? On each page of this book, this is a very interesting book for autistic children, right? On each page of the book, we will meet different animals, right? The first animal appeared in the page is this bear, right? And there is a text, brown bear, what do you see? And then the answer, I see a red bird looking at me. And then it goes on, red bird, what do you see? Right? And then move on to another animal, green frog. Move on to blue horse, yellow duck. Very repetitive, right? The idea of repetition is actually to make it easy to memorize, to encourage children to read along, to encourage children to take turns with the adult who is reading for him, and to learn the words and the color. All right? The structure is very simple, and it provides opportunities for parents and children to talk about the animals and to make up different storylines. All right? And this book, as I mentioned, is written by Eric Carley. Right? This is a very highly effective and engaging book for not only for autistic children, but also for normal children, right? Okay. This is another strategy. You can also find this strategy in the book, which is displayed downstairs. The strategy is onomatopoeia, right? What is onomatopoeia? Click, clack, quackity, quack. Onomatopoeia is a word that actually looks like the sound it makes. I'm giving you examples here. Slam, splash, babble, wobble, guggle, mumble, creech, tick-tock, twang, murmur, moo, right? Meow, vroom, whiz, yeah, right? A word that actually looks like the sound it makes. So this is onomatopoeia. The sensory effect, right? That is the implication of using onomatopoeia. The sensory effect is used to create imagery, musicality, right? And this will add emotion and make reading fun, yes, expressive and vivid. Okay, so this is also good for autistic children, yeah, to teach them to develop competency in language. All right, so next one is tactile book. Mr. Azli also mentioned tactile book, and Braille is an example of tactile book. Bliss symbol is another example of tactile book. Tactile means tactual, tangible, touchable, perceptible by the sense of touch. You read it by touching, right? So tactile symbols will help you. Of course, this is for visually impaired children and who are blind and who have complex communication disabilities to express themselves. A tactile book is read with fingers, right, by this visually impaired audience, right? So, as I mentioned, that bliss symbol, right? This is an international ideographic generative language, but as I mentioned, it's becoming less popular, but still used in Brazil, South Africa, Egypt, and Bangladesh. And this is overtaken by another ideographic generative language. Even Braille is actually developing, right? And this system has been improving very much now and still being used worldwide. All right? This is tactile picture book, right? Tactile book and tactile picture book, right? The tactile picture book is the picture itself, using picture itself in a tactile picture where this is for, of course, for blind people and for visually impaired. And the illustration are all raised shapes so that you can touch, which has texture, and it uses different materials, of course. And tactile illustration are designed to serve the same role as visual illustration. In Braille tactile books, readers follow along the touch read stories written in raised Braille enhanced with tactile images, right? So you have to employ people actually for the illustration, or if you are good in illustration, you can do this using different materials, soft, hard, right, brittle. So these are all different textures that you need to do that, and this is to teach visually impaired people about all these senses, right? There is also tactile fabric book, right? I'm not sure whether there are whether examples or books, such book is found downstairs, because the collection downstairs is just a very small portion of the entire collection for 2021, right? So and textile books, of course, made from fabric and and, uh, and, 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 and this will stimulate senses and help children with special needs to learn basic literacy and line motor skills. Another category of books is books with portrayals of disability, right? I think most books written for disabilities, I think this is the largest number of books, is books with portrayals of disability. And there are various objectives for this book. For example, book to help inspire children with special needs. And these are some of the books that you can find, but these are, I got these examples from the internet, right? And next one is books that teach young people about inclusion and special needs, right? And many novels are written for this purpose. And there are also audiobook, talking book, spoken word books. Now with the new technology, you can have multimedia book becoming more important, and interactive book also becoming very important. Okay, I think that's the last slide for me. So with that, I end my presentation. So thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much. And once again, give a big applause to Dr. Reza as well as the President for the sharing just now. And now we know the types of books for children with disability. And Dr. Bakare feel very enthusiastic. I want to write one books for disability. Okay, so let us move to our last presentation. Representative for ladies, I guess. The only one ladies that become our presenter today. Okay, her presentation is about. It's about. Okay. Technology specialist Dr. Latifah binti Abdul Latif is a technology specialist and senior lecturer of communication from the Department of Communication, Faculty of Communication, Visual Art and Computing, University Selangor. And she is currently the Deputy Dean of Research and Postgraduate of Faculty of Communication, Visual Art and Computing. She received her PhD and her Master's in Communication and Media Studies from University Putra, Malaysia, and Bachelor's degree in Software Engineering from University of Malaya. She's married. For information, right? And she is a good friend of mine because we are neighbors, our faculty of education and faculty of IT. She is actively involved in research in visual communication, social media, and silent books project under the Malaysia Board on Books for Young People and BBY. And she was appointed as the head of exhibition and visual exhibition committee for 38 EB International Congress 2022 and has been curated 100 of best artworks from all over around the world. And today, her presentation is about the criteria and features of books for children with disabilities. So without further ado, I would like to invite Yang Bahagia Dr. Latifah Abdul Latif to deliver her presentation. And also 30 minutes, yeah?
Thank you, Mr. Adi, Mr. Azli. I used to call him Mr. Adi because I remember that he told me before, because he used to cry a lot during, more than babies during that time. And his parents call him Adi, but I think that's not relevant anymore, right? Okay, to cry. Okay, Puan Norpisa Mat Isa as a registrar of AIU, and Professor Dr. Abdi, Deputy Vice Chancellor. My ayahanda, Dr. T, I used to call Dr. T and ayahanda during in UNICEL. My bosses, Professor Dr. Mat Siddiq Ishak, from my department also, communication department, and Deputy Vice Chancellor UNICEL, Dato' Ahmad Reza, also my boss during the EB Congress. Okay, and distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and my adik-adik as well. I think we are not so different in terms of age, right? Okay, so as Mr. Adi has mentioned, this is my presentation today. But I just want to ask you, how many books that you read for this week? Students, this one for students. How many books? How many? More than one? More, oh. Oh, so I changed my question. How many pages have you read? Okay, how many pages? More than, less than 10 pages? Less than 10 pages? More than 10 pages? Oh, okay, good. Okay, why I ask you that question? Because some research has mentioned that if you read a lot, you can be younger than your age. No, because why? Less stress and keep positive mind. But I don't get me wrong. Don't understand me. Whether you can see compared to the panel, I'm look much younger, right? Not because I read books a lot. It's because of the rate of my age. Okay, age cells. That's why I'm look younger than them. Okay. All right, so I think let's go to my presentation. So this is my title. And I want to talk about illustration because previous speaker, Prof. Mat Siddiq, has mentioned about the content. But I used to cover the outer side, that means the illustration part. Okay, you know what is illustration? Okay, what is this? Don't look at my slides. What is illustrations? Pictures. Okay, I know that's from my slides. Okay, so the illustration is actually, you can see a drawing, a photograph, a picture. I'm sure that if you read any books, novels and everything, even storybooks or magazine, there's a lot of illustrations. Am I right? Okay, why we have illustrations? Why? Any communication students here? Or suddenly there's no one? Any media students? Oh, only 3 of them. The rest? Oh, but education still can answer this question, right? Okay, why? Why you? Okay, I'm sure that if you want to buy a book, you look at to the cover page, right? And then you just likely go to the next page and you suddenly want to buy that book. Why? It's cheap, of course. That why is the because sometimes I mean the major reason why you have that book because of the illustrations. Okay, because you compare with the other. For example, you have if you are students and you have a book that actually same content. Am I right? But you tend to buy another one of that book compared to others. Maybe because they have illustration, they explain more, right? And then you can see why illustrations, because it's depicting ideas and words to explain something such as given evidence. For example, when we talk about the communication, if let's say we just put a word without any illustration, it's hard to remember. Okay? Okay, this is the reason why illustrations. Okay, first one, describe more clearly the information to be conveyed. Of course, because when if you still remember, they say that a picture has 1,000 of words, right? So this is the explanations. And depicting shadows and initial image to draw attention to the topic or knowledge to be learned, compared to the text only come together with the pictures and images. So it's very easy for you to remember. And then helping children, especially for the children, in terms of understanding, attracting interest and remembering the content presented. Just now, Prof. Maksida has mentioned the content, right? And then you can see there's the elephant and giraffe. Okay, if let's say they just put elephant, the word, and giraffe, so the student cannot visualize what actually giraffe and what is the elephant. Okay, the characteristic of the illustrations. Of course, they have visual, icons and image. And then normally colors not the only means of visual com. If you learn visual com, colors not the only means, because we have a lot. For example, the text and background. We cannot simply any text style, right? If you have presentation, of course you need to select or you need to choose the best style of text. If you use the difficult text to read, what happened to the audience? Sleeping, yes. Mr. Adi, very good on that. And then also the labels and borders are more than important. The bleeds and borders, if let's say you put the text until at the end of the slide. So, I mean your focus will be less. Okay, compare you have very wide borders in between of the text. We can focus straight away to the text. Okay, then I move to children book illustration style. We have a lot of styles. So the first one is cartoonish illustration styles. And I'm very sure that you have seen this kind of books. Okay, I have put it here is a Kampung Boy, Datuk Lat. And then you can see others example. So this is the style we call cartoony illustration style. Okay, they put all the cartoon, and then it can be also the silent books, because it said that from us they say that silent book is wordless, right? So look at the pictures, then you can understand without any text on it. Am I right? Yes, woman always right. Thank you, Adi. I think I'm sure that in this room, I think majority of humans compared to the men. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, woman's always right. A woman will be anywhere, right? Oh, okay. That's why. Oh, okay. Now I know. Okay, the second one is realistic illustration style. You can compare between this one and the previous one. The realistic. And you can see the image of that lady is very fine compared to the cartoon style. Okay, so some of the illustration is actually about realistic. And then I'm sure that you have seen this one in any other book that you have read before. Okay, I think in Malaysia we have a lot of books, novels. They use the realistic illustration style. Okay, you can see a very fine pictures of or image, right? So next, okay, this one is very popular among the children. Fantasy illustration style. As Datuk said that the Frozen one, right? So that one is actually fantasy. Kids always do this thing, fantasize and visualize so many things. I know that you are used to be kids before this. So you have a lot of fantasy, am I right? But I think you also, until now, yeah, because I'm sure that now you also read fantasy book. Am I right? Betul, Datuk? You used to read for your grandchildren, right? Okay, so this one example, fantasy illustration style, and then you can see there's a lot of images, fantasies, people flying, and then you can have a lot of big flowers, and then you can see the towers like that, and you can see cow flying. So this is like illustrations, fantasy illustration style. Okay, not everyone can fly. The cow also can fly. All right. Okay. So next is line drawing illustration style. Line drawing, where you can see this book. Coloring book. Right. And you can see all the line drawing. And then this is for children book. Most of parents will buy this book because they want the children to color. Okay, I think if you go to any bookstore, there's a lot of this kind of books. And then not only the children. Last time I bought one book for this one line that we need to color every single details. Use the color pencil and then it come to the big pictures. But it's actually to make us less stressed and to try to more focus other things. So we used to color the book. That one's for me lah. That's why I'm younger than them. Okay. Okay. I think after this, don't remove me from the group. Okay. Okay. Next one is sketch illustration style. Sketching. Okay, like Datuk Lat. It also can cartoon and sketching. Okay, using the pencils, and then it's like the free handwriting, and then you can sketch like this one. It's more on artists who actually has very talented on drawing. Okay, so this is sketch illustration style. Okay, before that, is there any question? No, so far so good, right? At the back, are you focused to my slide? Okay, good. I used to be a lecturer. I'm a lecturer now, so I love to ask. I know I used to be. I'm not pension anymore, but I have students out there, so it look like very busy with other things. But I guess you still listen to me, right? Oh, sorry. All right. So next one is an abstract illustration style, and you can see the colors. Okay. You can see abstract, you can see the tree with the different colors. So we call this one an abstract style. In children book, they have a lot of this one also. Okay? Mr. Adi, they have a children books here section? Okay, maybe soon. Okay, let's, after this, please go there and look at this book. Okay, and this is also the very popular one, wacky and funny illustrations. And you can see from this slide, you can see the animals wearing socks. And then you can see the potato pants. And then you can see a lot of things. Why? Why this one is very popular right now? Why? Why we can have this kind of illustration? Why? Anyone? If you answer correct, I will give you 50 cents. Oh no, I will bring you to... What this is a cucuk udang stall there. Okay, anyone? Why? Why this book is very popular right now? Of course, it's funny. Why? Why the book must be funny? Attracting students. It's reading children, right? And then children love something funny, and then always, yeah. Of course, they don't have any problem. They laugh more. And then they love to see these books. Okay? So this is an example of the wacky and funny illustrations. Okay? Okay, but and then I go to future trend, but it's not the future one, but it's already happened now. The geometric illustration. You can see the geometric with the shapes and everything. Okay, this is also one of the style that you can use if you want to produce a book. Okay? And 3D. You know the 3D? When you open the books, something come out, pop out, right? And then it's not only the book, physical book, and we also have this one, the technology 3D, the e-books. Okay, we have virtual reality, we have AR, augmented reality. So this is kind of, because nowadays children more on gadgets. Okay, why we didn't take this opportunity to come up with this idea, 3D books, right? That means they read the books and then something can come out using the apps and so on. Okay? Okay, next one is the collage. Okay? That means you can see there's a cartoon, that means you need to cut and then you put it in the book. Okay, and then maybe you just cut out from any materials For example, what we call it, papers, and then you have a lot of materials that you can cut and then put in a book. So you can see the sense that you can touch the book and they have a different kind of materials. So this is like, I give you, this is the 3D book. Dato, I brought this one here. Sorry, I keep this one for a very long time. Okay, so this is like the 3D book. And then also come up with the, you can touch and then you can feel these books. Okay, what's that? Yeah. This is the end of the book. So we begin from here. Okay? So this is the EB Outstanding Book for Young People with Disabilities. So you can see this is written by Samani Nadiri. And then you can see this book. They have Braille. Okay? And then at the same time, also they have the text. And then they have, Prof, this is what language, Prof? Okay, these are not Urdu, no, Persian, Parsi. Okay, this is English. Then they can read. Those people, unfortunate students or children, they can use the Braille. Okay, and then you can see here, they have Braille and then they have text, and then come together with the. Okay, this is very fragile. Okay, so they explained every single part of this animal, okay? And then followed by the rest until the students understand about what is elephant all about, okay? So I think all of you are very creative generation. So you can come up with this kind of book, okay? I used to give my students for this semester visual comm to come up with a silent book. That means there's no words, only picture or images. So come up with any books for this semester project. But it's not only for communication, it's only for education because you actually the one who very close to the children, am I right? So you can have this kind of idea. Okay? All right. So I have another book, Prof. So together with me, I have 3, but the one I left at home. Sorry. So this is an example. What we call a busy book also can be like children can play with this one. You can see the materials. Okay. Later you can see this one because I not put this together with Mr. Adi because it's quite fragile actually. Okay, and then you can see the surface and you can see the materials. When we talk about something that you can see and then you can not only visualize, I mean you can read, you can sense, you can touch the material of these things. And then there's a lot of this one until at the end of the story lah. And they have Braille also. Okay, so want to take a look, give me 20 ringgits. Okay. Right, yeah, business minded, right. Okay, so next one of the illustration is what we call lines. Okay, we draw a lines and come out with one image. Okay, I'm sure that during your time you draw a picture with line, right? Line and then suddenly come out with other thing. So is that one we call line? You just draw a line and then you just move your pencil or whatever you have, and then come up with this one. Okay. Okay, so I will explain to you the illustration development method. Okay, before we gonna do anything, we must have a method. Okay. Prof said that if you want to do a research, you have to know a problem statement. So if you want to have a book or you want to produce a book as an illustrator, you have to know what is the method that you're going to use and why this one is very important. Okay, the first one, you need to know the learning goals. What's the purpose of your book? Who's your audience? Okay, if let's say you want to tackle the children between 0 to 6 months, for example, so you need to know the requirement, or you need to know their physically and then their thinking. Not you used to go to that part, right? And then identifying your children experience. Okay, the children experience, because sometimes we used to what we call it a short sendiri when we have produced a book, because we just say that, oh, this one is very good, I'm sure that student will buy this book. Who are you to say that? If you did this kind of research and you know the experience, maybe you can have a workshop, and you can have a survey or group work, and ask the students or the children come together, and you will explain, and then what they actually experience, you can come up with the books. Okay? And then also the identifying the children interests. Okay, I think the most content here, the most explanation here is already covered by Prof. Sidin, because they already touched a lot of the. I just put the keyword. If you remember, Prof, you can ask them whether they remember or not. Okay, identifying children interest, because children are unique, right? So all of us, even though we are not children, we are also unique. So we have our own interests. Some people, some students or some children love to draw. So you need to have a drawing book, right? And then some children love to see the abstract one or fantasies one. So you need to produce that kind of book, okay? And then identifying children's skill and intelligence. Children are very intelligent actually, even though the disability students or disability children, they have their own intelligence, okay? So you need to see and you need to know what it's actually about before you produce any book. Okay, I touched about the silent books. This is an example of silent book. So the wordless, and you can see there's no word. Okay, can you see the word other than the silent books here? Okay, you can see the image of books. So this is silent book, because why silent book is very important? Why? Anyone want to answer why? Why silent book is very important to children? Apa-apa? Why is that? Adi, you want to answer? Oops. Okay. All right. Okay. After that, I don't want to ask Adi anymore. Okay. Why silent books? Some say that it's very interesting. Am I right? Other than interesting, this is the reason. Stimulating motor skill, because this doesn't have any word, so they need to think. They need to come up with their own answer. There's no right or wrong, right? It depends on the children. And then also can very good for recognizing object, letters, and numbers. If you remember the books, the children books, right? A, B, C, D, right? They have only the word. Sorry, they have only the pictures or image of that. And then they more focus and calm, because they need to find the answer. What's the book's about? Because they need to look at the book, so they will be focused more compared to the text. All right? And then self-confidence to communicate, because everyone have their own explanation. So there's no right and wrong. So students actually free to talk based on their assumption or their ideas. So that's why silent book is very important. And encourage exploration and problem solving. Of course, they need to find the good answer that they can answer to the, maybe to the friends, what it's about, okay? So next one, this is the example of silent book, as you can see, for children's kindergarten, and then they have image, pictures on it. So it's very attractive compared to words, books. Are you agree with me? Okay, good. Very good students. Okay, this is also example. Okay, you can see there's a lot of shapes, and then you can see, I think that one, the first one is the the very popular silent book. Okay, so you can see this one is a silent books, and then Mr. Adi already come nearer to me, so I think yes, and it's good to have last slide. Thank you very much to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Latifah, for the interesting session. To make up our mind the kind of illustration in books that we want to produce, and together with the title with the Professor Dr. Mat said just now, is what kind of books that we want to produce, and how we can market our books and go international with the MBBY as the bridge of the from AIU to the connecting the world. Okay, give a big of applause to our speakers, and we have done the three topics today. It's just an introduction, I think. I guess, yeah, Prof. There's a lot and more to be understood about books for children with disabilities. And if you want to know more, please connect with MBBY. And glad to announce that I am one of the executive committee for MBBY. But going to retire soon, because it's quite far to go meeting at Kuala Lumpur. Oh yes, we can conduct a virtual meeting. So my term is until 2023. Okay. And if I being elected once again to become one of the executive committee, and we want to invite of yang berbahagia Puan Norfisah binti Mat Isa to deliver her closing speech, and we would like to invite yang berbahagia Puan Norfisah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bear with my voice, yeah. This is after COVID kind of voice that you have. If you have COVID, then you can get a very beautiful voice. Yeah? Okay. Yang berbahagia Dato' Ahmad Reza, President of Malaysia on Books for Young People. Yang berusaha Professor Dr. Mat Sidin Ahmad, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic Research and Industrial Engagement of UNICEL. Technology Specialist Dr. Latifah Abdul Latif, Deputy Dean, Postgraduate and Research, Faculty of Communication. Professor Abdi, yeah, my friend at AIU, and also the Deputy Vice Chancellor for Research and Innovation. Dr. T, yeah, he's popularly known as Dr. T, and it's simpler to remember him, you know. So it's Dr. T, Dean of School of Education and Human Sciences. Madam Shohada, I don't know where she is, yeah. Oh, she's at the end there. The Chief Librarian for AIU. Lecturers from all the schools in the campus. And the beloved students. Yeah? I'm sure after listening to all the speakers, you are now very, very motivated to produce your own books. Yeah? You don't have to be good in writing. You know that now. You can be good in illustrating, and you can be good at storytelling and get someone to write your story. Yeah? So you can actually produce books, yeah, from now on. Put that motivation into motion, and I hope with the with the guidance of the lecturers from the School of Education and Human Sciences, there would be more books produced for children with disabilities. But I think the books, you know, for example, the illustration books can also be useful for those who can actually read, and can be interesting for those who wants to use it to interpret. You can have games, you know, you can have competition by using the illustration books. Yeah? And I always tell my children, I mean, my children are all grown up, you know, my eldest is close to 40, my youngest is already 29. But I told them I don't understand a lot of the smileys that you all are using. You know? If you can produce a book on smileys, you know, and how people interpret them, there's a lot of misinterpretation, especially among us, the what they call the super young generation. Yeah? So we don't understand most of the smileys. So if you can write books on that, that would be very, very interesting. You can have 3 generations or 4 generations of people, how they actually interpret the smiley. Yeah? And I think what they call the speakers here have given us an eye opener on what we can do on, to produce for the children with disability. As mentioned by Dr. T, that the university admits students from marginalized and also disadvantaged background, but they're mostly now based on their economic, socio-economic status. Yeah? But we have 2 students who are under the OKU, yeah, orang kurang upaya category, and they are physically disabled, but still able to go to classes and so on. They're not really that bad, yeah? But we have to. But in the past history of this university, I think when I talk about past history, if you want to know, you have to talk to Dr. T. Yeah? The past history of the university, during the period of 2011 to 2015, we, because I work with children, Autistic Children Center in Penang when I was in USM. So I actually got the board of directors and board of governors to agree for us to take students from that center into this university. So we had 3 students from Autistic Center who were at AIU, and one of them now, I'm very proud to say that he's a computer engineer with Intel. He was always laugh in school, in classes, because his questions would sound very funny, very direct and so on, but he actually became a very, very good student, especially in computing, and he graduated. He finished his studies at Utah, and he's now a computer engineer at Intel. And now I think recently being promoted to a senior engineer, okay, at Intel. So you see, people with disabilities, if you give them the chance, if you give them the opportunity, they can excel. Yeah? But they need our help. Okay? They need us to be with them. You know, not to discard them, but to be with them, to guide them, to be their buddies, to be their partner, for them to grow and become, successful in their life. Yeah? When talking about books, I remember my children, when they were small, they were volunteering. They were in primary school, but they were doing a volunteer's job at the Center for Down Syndrome Children. They were reading books, but they find it difficult for the children to understand. So they turn the books into pictures, like what you have shown just now. And they were just standard 4 and standard 6 kids, yeah? But they were good in drawings and so on. So they turn the stories into books and they paste it on boards. So when they read based on the pictures from the board. And they do it regularly. The same book, they read regularly. So some of the Down syndrome kids were able to hold the book, open the pages, and read word by word, but they actually do not know how to read, but they just memorize what my daughters were reading to them. So those are the good things that we can do together as community service, for example. Another unique thing about this university is community service is compulsory to everyone, not only to the student, but to also the staff and those associated with the university. So we need to work with the community, and this is one way of working with the community, that is to work with the people with disabilities. Yeah? Um, these people have their own talent. That's why some people call them special able people. Yeah? They have their own talent, and they will be able to also, give you a lot of education, informations, and so on. Yeah. So I would like, with that, I would like to congratulate the School of Education and Human Sciences, the library, the partners, for coming out with this seminar. And I'm sure, congratulations. I'm sure the students have learned a lot, from this session. But before I go, I would like to say, to convey the salam of the Vice Chancellor. He wanted to be here. He was trying to get away from whatever he's doing, in Kulim, because he's preparing for his son's wedding on the 25th. So he wanted to come, but he was unable to, so I'm representing him. So he sent his regards and also the apology for not being able to be here. Yeah? So I would encourage all the schools to continue to have this kind of seminar, different from the normal seminar that we have, yeah. And then maybe the students can get together and start creating books as part of your social business program. And then we can, the library is opening up, a reading corners at least 50 schools in 6 in Baling, and your books can actually be displayed in those places. Rather than they have the normal printed books, they can have books from produced by the students. I think it's a more creative way of allowing, especially young children, to start reading the books. Yeah? With that, I would like to thank the esteemed speakers today, and also the organizers for conducting this seminar and also the exhibition. And we hope to have more. So with Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, and with this I declare the seminar closed. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much to Yang Berbahagia Puan Nurhisa Mat Isa for that closing speech. And I would like to invite again Yang Berbahagia Puan to give the token of appreciation to our speaker. And the first recipient, I would like to invite Yang Berbahagia Dato' Ahmad Reza Ahmad Khairuddin, the President of MBBY. Thank you, Dato', for with us today. And then please welcome Yang Berbahagia Professor Dr. Maksidin bin Ahmad Ishak. And last but not least, Yang Berbahagia Technology Specialist Dr. Latifah binti Abdul Latif. And I would like to invite Yang Berbahagia Datuk Ahmad Reza, representing MBBY, to give a token of appreciation from MBBY to AIU. Thank you very much Yang Berbahagia Datuk and Yang Berbahagia Penor Fisa. With that token of appreciation, it means that our program is going to be end. And I would like to thank to MBBY, give a big applause to MBBY. And for School of Education and Human Sciences, tepuk sikit, yeah. And then of course our partner AIU Library, Corporate Communication and Marketing Office, Miss Lisa and team, and of course the BMC student by our chairman, yeah, for the live streaming, and of course for BECE student and BEE student as well as BMC student, and all the staff who spend your time together with us today. So I'm hoping that this collaboration will not stop here. And for your information, we are planning many reading promotion award, many reading promotion activity in Baling and Kedah. And I hope Datuk Reza and MBBY can bring our program to international. Maybe we can win an award for the next congress. So I'm hoping that. So thank you very much. And we have a photo session, please? Okay, can all of us stand up and just stand there and then yes, and jump. No. Okay, please gather in the middle of the hall. And this is our handsome cameraman Mushtaba Amin from Afghanistan. Yeah, for Afghanistan. He's not married yet, yeah. Lee, who is that? Bas, come. It's not yet.